What are the timetables for when your child should begin crawling, and why is crawling important?
Good questions. Kendall is with Red Door Pediatric Therapy. She's joining us this morning to answer those questions and more. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I think this is a topic that is certainly taking over a lot of new parents' mind, at least for that first year of a child's life. So can you start by giving us kind of a timeline of when we want to see some of those crawling milestones?
Absolutely. There are a few precursors to crawling that infants need to go through in order to learn and develop those crawling skills. So some of the first ones we'll really see is during tummy time, when kids start learning to push through their arms and they're lifting their chest off the surface, and that happens about 3 to 5 months of age. As they start to master that, then closer to 6 months, they're able to start weight shifting and reaching for toys, and that really gives us what we need, with those crawling mechanics of shifting our weight to one side of our body and then to the other. Closer to that 8 to 9 months is where we start getting that hands and knees position, or what we consider a 4-point position. As they master that and really build some strength in this position, closer to that 9 months of age, you'll see them start rocking back and forth. And that's kind of that start of that forward movement that we'll see. It's really helping us learn to shift our weight while we're in that 4-point position. It helps us keep our balance. And here we're really building shoulder and hip strength while we're here. And then finally, between 8 and 10 months, we start to see that forward crawling.
You touch on a lot of important things, and one of the main things I would imagine is just the building of strength, coordination, and everything else. Is that why crawling at an appropriate age is so important?
Absolutely. You really need that muscle development and to build that core strength, to build your shoulder strength, to really take off with the rest of your gross motor skills. So strength is a huge part of why crawling is so important. It's also going to help build that hand and that arm strength that you need for those fine motor skills as you get older. So how we write, buttoning a shirt, zipping a zipper.
Absolutely. Okay, so you talked about some of these milestones that I think a lot of families are going to be closely watching to see if their child is kind of on track with what is typical. But what would be some red flags that would show you that you may need to do a little bit more work with your child?
Absolutely. Some red flags that you might see would be if a child isn't bearing weight through their hands and knees, or it seems uncomfortable to them. That would be something that would maybe be a little bit concerning. Same with if, as we're starting to army crawl or crawl on our hands and knees, if one side seems a lot less coordinated than the other, or if we're really pulling like one hand and then dragging the other kind of behind us. So that coordination of both hands, and then not meeting those gross motor milestones as you would expect.
If you find that your child has no interest in crawling, doesn't really show the fact that it's ready to start doing that, and you think that it's at an age where he or she should be crawling, how do you encourage it?
Absolutely. Play is the best way to encourage meeting those gross motor milestones. So play with your child in tummy time. Use toys that have maybe motivating lights and sounds to encourage them to crawl or to work on some of those skills. Working on some of those milestones that we talked about earlier, so the pushing up on our arms while we're on our tummy, or even rolling, some of those skills will really help. Working on those transition skills, so moving from our tummy then to our hands and knees position, will also help. Some things that you can use to help too is give them some more support. So maybe our core strength isn't quite where we need it to be on our hands and knees. So using a towel or a pool noodle to position under them might give them a little more support at their trunk to maintain that position.
I like that you give different options for that. I remember when we were going through it, I felt like that pillow just felt too big and too much for my little baby to fit around, but different options like the pool noodle or towel, that there's other ways you can do it too. I've heard of some parents talk about, my kid just wanted to go right to walking. Is that something you guys see sometimes?
Absolutely. We'll see that frequently with kids who maybe are speedy with their gross motor milestones. And there's a lot of things that are really important with crawling that you can still go back and work on those crawling skills and encourage them. So some examples would be, encourage play with crawling, even if they're wanting to master walking. So maybe playing by crawling through a tunnel would be fun for them. And that way we can really work on some of those crawling skills while we go. Things, we talked about the muscle development is really important, but also developing that coordination that we need for bike riding or swimming, or our visual development is also parts of why crawling is so important.
That's a great point.
Well, we're trying to get things back to normal all around this country. So as you guys try and do the same thing, tell us where people can contact you, where they can look things up on the internet, and also where you're located.
Absolutely. We're at Red Door Pediatric Therapy at our Bismarck, Minot, and Grand Forks locations.
Okay, there's the information, and I say this all the time. The website at the top there, reddoorpediatric.com, answers so many questions for people, and that's a great place to start. If not, feel free to give them a call.
You guys are full of great ideas. Thank you so much, Laura. It's always good information from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Stay with us. North Dakota Today will continue right after this.